Okay, good morning and welcome to Just Daf It, Daf Yomi share, led by the one, the only Mencio Lang. Of course, I'm dressed in my daily attire. You gotta dress up, you gotta be professional. I give a professional Daf Yomi share, so you gotta look the part also. So that's why I'm dressed up. If you're wondering, we have an exciting show planned for tonight. I'm gonna be hosting someone I know from the community here. His name is Effie Goldman. Some of you might know him as the brother of Jackie Beaton. Heard of Jackie Beaton from America, famous speaker for women's, to women, presenter to women. If you didn't know, she has a brother living here in Israel. Is also a presenter, also a sought-after speaker. So we're going to be dealing with him tonight, and also about, the profession of public speaking and public engagements. How much do you learn? What's it like out there on the public circuit? We're going to find out more details tonight. One of the locals here can let me a little glimpse into his life. Hopefully, we're also going to have a presentation beforehand where we're going to be distributing some wine and cheese tastings before the interview. Of course, on camera, so that we can get the proper preparation for the interview. I hope he doesn't fall asleep during the interview. That would be bad, but it's going to be great. And here, somehow I found it into the executive room over here. I got my chair here, my office chair. So now it looks really official. This is actually the rabbi's study over here. Rabbi the shul and his son-in-law was also a rabbi. So somehow I made it over here. The room is available, so we'll make it a public office right now. And let's get started. Today's daf is Yevamos daf Sadi Ches, number 98. We have a great share for you today. We're going to be talking about gerus, people that are Magayer, and they have siblings that are Magayer with them. Can they marry each other? There's a difference between a maternal brother, relations from the mother, and relationship from the mother, a shared mother, and a shared father, B'kedusha. When you become a Yisrael, obviously the yichus of the father goes by the conception, and the yichus of the mother goes by the leida. We'll discuss that more, especially in Yom Ben Tzir. We're going to discuss why is the difference. Eventually, we're going to get to a difference between brain death and heart death, and ultimately to the question of abortion, whether it should be okay or not according to the Torah. We'll have to discuss that. It's really dependent on today's sugya. I take you very deep under all the facades over here. Take you to the core of the matter. Let's get started. We're on the bottom of Sadi Zayin and Bees. It says Tashma. We're trying to bring a proof that Machlokas in Rach Bar Yaakov and Rav Sheshas, whether Chazal made an Isser D'Rabbanan after people are Magayer. Obviously, after you're Magayer, you're not related to your sibling. Gershon is Katan Shnei Dami. Did they make an Isser D'Rabbanan? Rach Bar Yaakov says they didn't. Rav Shesha says they did. Tashma Shnei Achim to Omim. Now we're going to talk about twin brothers. Twin brothers, maybe they're identical twins, maybe they're not. The word doesn't say. Gerim v'chein meshuchrarim, or you have twins that are sons of a shifcha that are meshuchra, that were freed. Lo choltzin v'lo miyamin. Once they become Jews, they can't do chalitzar yibum, because we're talking about in this stanza of the brisa where they were Magayer, they were born before they're Magayer. Once they're Magayer, they're not related. Ve'ein chayav mishum eishes ach. There's no isser when they're Magayer of marrying the wife of your brother, because you're not related. He's not your brother. These twins, they were conceived as goyim, but then the mother converted during the pregnancy, and then she gave birth to them. As we're going to see, a basic rule over here, that you have a relationship to your mother. You're considered brothers from your mother, but not brothers from your father, because your brother from your father was Shalom B'Kedusha, but the mother goes after the leida, right? That's the mother's action in delivering a kid. She has to give birth to the kid. The father is responsible for the conception. The mother is just the mekabelis. The father is the one who releases the zera, so he's the one that is responsible for the conception. So therefore, if Leidah sins b'kedusha, Right? You can't marry your brother's wife, even if it's a case of yibum, because there is no yibum. Yibum only applies by paternal brothers. You're not paternal brothers. You only the most you are maternal brothers. So therefore, there's an isra of eshesach. You can't marry your brother's wife, and there's no contract yibum. If the parents converted before they were conceived, obviously, they were born as Jews. They're both brothers from the father and the mother. Right, the first stanza of this brayse says they're not kayam mishum eshesach. Yuval leika. Sounds like there's no chiyuv, there's no isra karis. Ha'isura ika, but there is an isra midrabanan. So what? So you see that there's an isra midrabanan once you convert. Midrabanan, we treat you like brothers. Where is that? Like Rav Sheshes. Where is who? Top of Sadi Chaim and Aleph. Who did not feel isura nami leika? The Gemara responds back, maybe no. There's even no isra. I did the boy the missing seifa v'chavin. And because the Seifa, the next clause of the Mishnah is supposed to say that you're not, that you are chayiv for Eishesach. So the first stanza says you're not chayiv, even though it's really not asr at all. Amar Rava, Hadamar Rabbanan in Avla Mitzri. Now we're going to find out. There's no, for a Mitzri, we have to discuss in Ian Ben Si on why it picks on a Mitzri. An Egyptian, right? He has no lineage, meaning, right, if he gives birth to a son, that son is not miyuchas to the father. It's not related to the father. Lo tema mishum d'shtufe bezima lo yadia. It's not talking about because they're people that just sleep around and they're promiscuous. We don't know who the father is. Aval yadia. But if we knew who the father was, chayshinan, we are choshish. We do have a relationship between the father and the son. Alafilu di yadia. Now we like chayshinan the hashnei achan tumim the tipa akasein. Right. This brayse we just said they're twin brothers. They come from one. Right. If you know the biology of twin brothers is basically one egg. Actually, I guess we're talking about identical twins, because if it's fraternal twins, that actually is two eggs are fertilized. If it's one twin, it's one egg and one sperm that is fertilized and it splits into two, that would be identical twins. So that's what Gemara is apparently saying. Tipa Aka saying, right? It's identical twins. It became separated into two. And the Seifa says, so you see what? That there's no Kalisar Yivum, there's no relationship to the father, and not called paternal brothers. Okay, Yivum depends on paternal brothers. The Torah threw away, it was Mafkir, the Zera sperm of non-Jews. The Chsiv, Basar, Chamor, Misara, Mizirma, Susim, Dermasam. Says in Yechezkel, relating to non-Jews, their flesh is the flesh of donkeys, and whatever they exude from their body, the sperm and things like that, is basically like that of horses. It's insignificant. Tashma Damar Vyosi Maisa Beniftayim Hager, he was a specific ger. Shanasa Ish Safam Imo, he married the wife of his brother, of his maternal brother. They said there's no marriage for a ger. The ger sounds like we're saying that the ger couldn't be married. If someone's Magayi or he's Makadish, he's a Yisrael, of course the Kiddushin works. What is that? It can't mean that there's no Ishus for Kiddushin, there's no Ishus for a ger. You're going to say there's no Isra Eishes Ach Lager. My love the Nasba Ach Tushugar. Are we talking about when he married when his brother married his wife, right? When he was a ger, when he was already converted. So you see what? Back to this discussion of Sheshes and Racha Bar Yaakov, right? And there's no problem. And he said it's okay. Now really we're talking about, this case is an interesting case, that they got married, he married his paternal brother's wife when they were both non-Jews. So the Gemara is like, of course, why do we care what they did when they were non-Jews? They weren't keeping the Torah. Now that he's Megayer, so we should say that his marriage, even though it started when they were non-Jews, we should answer it, because we're going to get confused by Jewish converts when they convert first and then they marry their maternal brother's wife, which is Asr. So therefore they made Xera even if they got married when they were not Jewish. We don't make the Xera. Tashma Amar Ben Yusayin Shalach Gar Kayam was another ger. He went with Kar Kayam. He went to the, I don't know, the Greater Antilles, the Lesser Antilles, in the West Indies, also known as the Caribbean. I don't know, maybe the Lesser Antilles. It sounds like, I don't know. Kar Kayam was a bunch of different islands together. Matzasi ger echad shenasa ish sachav me'imo. I found a ger. I don't know if this guy was a ger, also Ben Yosai, and he found the ger shenasa ish sachav me'amo. He married the wife of his maternal brother. Amarti lo b'ni mehirshacha. Who allowed you to do this? Amar li harei isha v'shiva banel safsel zel yasha shiva banel. Meaning we have a woman here in this Caribbean city. I don't know, Caribbean country over here. St. Lucia, I don't know, maybe that's where it was. That this is what all her children did. They all married their brothers' wives. Akiva sat on this very stool and said, on this very bench, and said through things. He's allowed to marry his maternal brother's wife. He said a second teaching. Says the yonah shenis lemor shenis dibra imo shchina. It says shenis. Hashem spoke to him a second time. He only spoke to him a second time. Shlishis lo dibra imo shchina. He didn't speak to him a third time. So those are the two teachings. Counting me today. But you see from this brisa what? At least ger knows that he's allowed to marry his maternal brother's wife. My love the nasba afashu ger. Aren't we talking about when he married her when after his brother already converted? So therefore, you see there's an isser of isser they're abundant like Rashi, just not like Rachel by Yaakov. No isser. Lo the nasba shov gechavim. Really, he's talking about they got married when they were both non-Jewish, and then they converted. What's the chiddush? The same with nigzer shov gechavim shov ger. Like we said before, maybe we should make xera because you get confused even when they get married after they converted. Kamash Malan, we're not worried. This guy Ben Yosai, he's believed. Amar Rav, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav. Kol Tal Kalkam Shamor Allah Ba. In Kodam Ma'asav Amar Shalman Lo. Imlav in Shalman Lo. If he said this, he said the teaching in the halacha before a ma'aseh that was relevant came up, so then we believe him. But if he's just saying it now the first time, we're kosher that he's lying. Maybe he actually did say it before. He had proof. He had logistic proof that this actually happened. There were 7 sons that actually did this. He said a different teaching or Rabbi Akiva with it, so therefore that corroborates the first one. Let's go back to the second teaching. Hashem only spoke to him a second time, to Yonah, not a third time. This is talking about the son of Yoash HaMelech, Yoravam, I think. He brought back the border of Yisrael, Melevo Hamas, right? From the place of Hamas, from coming to Hamas. Now, interesting, our school translates Hamas as Hamas, which is Hamas, which apparently still exists today. It existed in the Navi also. Like Hashem said, Biad Avdo Yonah Ben Amasai. Sounds like Hashem said something to Yonah Ben Amasai a third time. Hanavi, Amar Ravina, Aliyaski Ninve Kamar. Didn't mean he actually spoke to Yonah another time. It compares what happened to the Nevi'us of Yonah. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar Haki, Aliyaski Ninve Kamar. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar Haki Kamar, Kidvar Hashem Asher Diver Biad Abdo Hanavi, Kishem Shenebach Leninve Miral Tova Kachbi Meirav Ben Yoash Nebach Len Yisrael Mirav Tova. So he's saying over here, he's explaining basically the previous statement that the first answer of Ravina is Aliski Ninve. Hashem only spoke to him 2 times regarding Ninve, but he spoke to him other times also. Only 2 times when in regard to Ninve, we know the story of Yonah we read on Mincha on Yom Kippur. But other times he did speak to him. The second answer is, I wasn't talking that Hashem actually spoke to Yonah again. It was like Ninveh, just like Ninveh was turned, like Zera was going to be destroyed, and then it ended up not being destroyed. Yeravam ben Yoash also Nebach Lam Yisrael Miral Tova. They had Zera against them, and it was annulled, and therefore it's comparable to that, but not that Yonah got another nevuah. Tashma ger shahayalei dasu b'kedusha v'rasa shelo b'kedusha. A ger that was conceived when he was non-Jewish, but in the interim his mother converted, and he was born b'kedusha as a Yisrael. Yesh lo share hayim. He has a relationship to his mother. Ve'ein lo share av. He has family from his mother's side, but not family from his father's side. Ketzad. If he marries his sister, his maternal sister, Yotzi, he has to get rid of her. Kayam. If he marries his paternal sister, and just a paternal sister, not a maternal sister, he's let her be married to her. We're not gozer. Yotzi. If he marries the sister of his father, now even though it's his father, he has no lineage to his father, but because it's a sister that his father shares, a maternal sister that his father shares, so there is an aspect of maternal lineage, so therefore Yotzi has to get rid of her. Top of Sarichem Beis, Mina Av Yikayim. Right? If it's his father's sister, a paternal sister, then there's no lineage from a father's side. If he marries his mother's sister, who's a maternal sister, Yotzi, right? Because there's for sure maternal lineage. Mina Av, let's say he marries his mother's sister, but it's his mother's sister paternally, only through a father. Rameir Omer Yotzi, he has to get rid of her because after all, it's from his mother. It's his mother's sister. Acham Omrim Yikayim. Acham say you're allowed to stay married. There's Rameir Omer Kol Erva Shi Mishum She'er Ha'im Yotzi Mishum Ha'im Hav Yikayim. Rameir says there is an aspect of maternal lineage over here. It's his mother's sister after all. He has to get rid of her, but if a father, you can Yikayim. Umutar Be'eshes Achiv. The Brisa continues. Umutar Be'eshes Achiv Mi'imo. He's allowed to marry his father's, his brother's wife, as long as it's his brother maternally. Over Eishes Achi Aviv, he can marry the wife of his paternal brother. V'shar kol arayas mutaras lo, and all the others arayas are mutar to him. So that's a general statement. Lasuye, what is that coming to include? The last part, Eishes Av, his father's wife. Right, not his mother, his father's wife. Normally it's Asr, but from your father, no lineage. Nasa Isha Bita, the Brisa continues, he married a woman and her daughter. Right, Kones Achas and Motzi Achas. Normally, if they're both Jewish, right, you're not allowed to marry a mother and her daughter. And the first one you get married to is the one you're married. The second one is not Tvisas Kedushin. Kones Achas, but here, what you're doing as a ger, whereas Haraso Shalom Kedusha, Lidasa Kedusha, Kones Achas and Motzi Achas. Right, you're not fully Jewish, you only have maternal lineage, so therefore you can remain married to one and get rid of the other one. But L'chachila, you shouldn't marry both of them. Meisa ishto mutar bechamoso. The Brisa concludes if his wife dies, then he can marry his mother-in-law. He can marry the mother, or he can marry, if he's married the mother, he can marry the daughter. Vika detani asr bechamoso. And some say the last part is that he's asr bechamoso even after his wife dies. Tani mias. So we had a long brisa. So at least you conclude from the brisa, mutter be'eshes achiv. He's mutter to his brother's wife, paternal brother's wife. My love, the nasba achiv kshu ger. Aren't we talking about that his brother, paternal brother, married this woman when he's a ger? And again, we see a proof to Rabbi Bar Yaakov, no isser. Lo, the nasba kshu kachavim. Again, the Gemara rejects it. No, his brother married the wife when they were goyim, and then they converted after that. Ma'ila meimra. What's the chiddush? Ma the same. Like we've been saying before, maybe there's a havamina should make a gzeira because of a case where he marries her after the ger, as Kamash Malan. We don't say that. Amar, we're not worried about that. Amar Mar Nasa Isha. Let's analyze this price. Nasa Isha Bita Konis Achas and Motzi Achas. He marries a woman, right? Again, this is a guy that was like Daso Harasa Shlobik Dusha. He was not yet converted when he was conceived, but then he was born, he was already converted, his mother converted. So what's the law about marrying all these women? So Nasa Isha Obita, he marries a woman and her daughter, Konis Achas and Motzi Achas. He can remain married to one, he gets rid of the other one. L'chachila, you shouldn't marry both. Hashta Afuke Mebik, L'chachila Mebai. Obviously, if he has to get rid of them, he shouldn't do l'chachila. Hasam kai. The Gemara says really, l'chachila is going back on a previous statement in the Brisa. The Rabbanan said that you're allowed to be married to certain ladies, and said in the Brisa, l'chachila yechnos. Right, the other cases, right? The other cases where marrying your brother's wife, right? Where it says you have to, you could keep them, still you shouldn't get married l'chachila. Lo yichnos. Mesa Ishto Mutter Bechamoso. Ikadhani Asr Bechamoso. So let's just analyze the last part of this brisa. One Shita holds that once the wife dies, you're allowed to marry the mother-in-law. Another opinion says you can't. This is basically Machlokes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Manda Asar Rabbi Shmuel. The one that says you can't marry Chamoso after the wife dies. Damar Chamoso Lachar Misa Bisura Kayam. Normally by a Jew, a full-fledged Jew, right? If you marry a woman and then she dies, you marry the mother-in-law. That's sreifa. You get sreifa for marrying a mother and a wife. So therefore, v'gabe ger gazvi rabbanan. By ger, there's no isra, there's no kurva. By a ger, right? When you're a megayer, so therefore you have no, your wife, you have no lineage, right? You're a ger shin ger cousin shenoladami. You were married to a woman, so therefore a mother-in-law is not related to you. Gazri rabbanan goes there. Amad Shari and Rabbi Akiva. The one that says mutter like Akiva damar chamos lachar misa kalash like Yisrael. Like we learned previously. It's not that it's still asur min Torah after the misa, but there's no sreifa. So when it comes to a full-fledged Jew, there's no sreifa. Gabe ger lo gazri rabbanan. They were by ger. They weren't gozer, and they said it's mutter to marry the mother-in-law after the daughter dies. I hope you enjoyed today's shir. It's getting better and better every day, more formal and more. A guy I sat next to in this matter, she's like, no, you shouldn't wear a jacket. You have to be one of us. I said, I'm still one of you. I'm just a better looking and better dressed one of you. See you in Even Ben Sion. We're going to discuss brain death versus cardiological death. Obviously, it's possible to be alive. It's a consideration if your heart still works but your brain is dead. There's a lot more people that would say that you're considered alive than if your brain was working but your heart wasn't working. We'll explain why, based on today's Gemara, based on Yichus from the Av and the Aim. You're not going to want to miss this coming up now.